Hello and welcome back. Alright, so today we're going to be building a Spring Boot application using the Initializer. And we're going to do that in version 2.4.5. So we're going to go to start.spring.io, and that's going to bring up the Initializer here. And this is a really convenient way to get all the source you need to start on your Spring IO project. Alright, so you can do Maven or Gradle, you can choose the language you want to work in, choose the version you want to work in, and even name some of the artifacts here. So if you want to change the package name to, I don't know, some package, we're going to put that in there. And change the artifact, I don't know, we'll call it my app. There we go. Alright, we can leave the description here the same. That's going to generate our package name for us. We're going to package that in a jar. And we'll take a look at our Java version just to make sure that we're working with a compatible version here. And yep, we're working with 11, so we'll leave the Java version defaulted to 11. Alright, awesome. And then we can also add dependencies to it. So there's different dependencies that can bring in some advanced capabilities. So for this one, we'll grab the web dependencies, because later we'll expand this application to do some REST API programming. Alright, so very good. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And it's going to give us a zip file with all the artifacts we need. And what we'll do is open up our folder here. We'll extract out that zip file. And then we're going to actually open it up in an IntelliJ project. And that way we can kind of see what's in there and then start working with our Spring Boot app. Alright, so here we are opening up IntelliJ. We'll grab that folder here. So we had it in our downloads and my app. Awesome, we'll hit OK. It's going to start importing. We're going to trust it. Obviously, don't blindly trust things. You want to make sure that you're downloading and trusting something you should be. But for our purposes, we've already validated this, so we're good to go. All right, so now we're going to import this project, and it's going to do a bunch of stuff here. It's going to bring in some dependencies. It's going to validate all the files, update our indexes, etc. So one of the things about Spring Boot is it's super handy, but it also comes with a lot of dependencies and everything. So as far as building applications, you want to be mindful that there's going to be a lot more in there than you would just find in your normal, like, Hello World Java app, for example. So be mindful that that is a thing. So if you're resource constrained, it might not be the best framework for you. But for the value it provides to larger frameworks for things like cloud ecosystems, microservices, etc., it's a great utility. All right, so we'll open up our POM file here. We'll take a look at that. And that's just going to give us our basic setup. So we've got, obviously our package information there, our basic dependencies, and we're using Spring Boot as a parent for this application. And we see that we've got our web framework imported here. Okay, awesome. Now we'll open up and take a look at the source files. Basically right now you're just going to have one source file, which is going to be your My application. And that's going to just start the Spring Boot application, right? So there's a whole bunch of default services in there, things like health checks and registries and things of that nature that basically come bundled in your Spring app. And you can turn these on and off. So there's various ways that you can work with Spring, and honestly their documentation is super robust. So definitely a great group. I'm glad they put together everything the way that they have, and they provided so much detail. There's lots of tutorials and examples out there. So if you're interested in building a microservices based environment or some web applications, something like that, definitely worth looking into. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and start this application, and obviously it's not going to do much of anything right now, but we just kind of want to walk through looking at the files, building the application, seeing what happens with that. So we've got a little bit of time here. We're going to be building, we're going to be grabbing any dependencies we need, etc. And we can see that it's still working through, and it's going to take a little minute to spin up. Now, mind you, this will get a little quicker in the future, but as I indicated, these are pretty heavy as far as dependencies are concerned. So again, just be mindful of that when you're building and deploying these applications, as far as potential environmental constraints, things of that nature. All right, so let's see, we're building. Bear with me just a minute here. We'll get everything running. Other thing to note is not necessarily that terrible, but I'm working on kind of a constrained VM right now. There's not a lot of power behind it, so again, may be affected by whatever environment you're working in. All right, so it looks like it has finished building. That was successfully completed, and even with my limited resources, just a little over a minute to build. And we're going to go ahead and start seeing the application run right now. So Spring will pop up, and it's got a cool little banner, and it's going to start walking you through the services that are starting. So we see that all these are starting up, and again, through the documentation, you'll find there's a number of different configuration options available. So feel free to explore their docs. It's pretty great. And there's a whole bunch of other people that have done a lot of stuff on this, so definitely some great resources out there. So okay, our application is started, it is running. It will basically stay running until you kill it, unless it hits some kind of fault or exception. So we'll go ahead and kill that off and move on. But in the future, what we're going to do is start building this out into a RESTful application. We'll add some API services, and I'd like to thank you for watching and welcome you to come back and check on new content in the future.